Americans coast to coast now know the name Elijah McClain. Yet it took months for the country to become aware of the 23-year-old's death. Tonight, as we consider the implications of what happened beginning 1 year ago, our Chris Vanderveen takes a look back.
It wasn't a national story, not at first. The trip to the convenience store.
911, what is the address of the emergency?
The 911 call.
Hey, stop right there. He's walking south on Billings Street. He has a mask on.
Okay.
The quick takedown and the ketamine injection.
Chill out.
None of it generated national news stories or viral hashtags. No, his was a story that sat quietly for months until one day in the middle of a pandemic, it erupted. Yet to know the story, one must also know Elijah's story. The 23-year-old with no criminal record was doing nothing illegal that night. In fact, he was buying iced tea. His family say the mask was just what he did at night, even on summer nights. As for the takedown,
Grab your gun, dude. Stop, dude.
Police say that action prompted it. What you might have missed, what I missed when I first watched the tape, happened many minutes after the takedown.
So when the ambulance gets here, we're going to go ahead and give him all the cops are okay. Yeah, sounds good. Perfect, dude.
When the officers decided a very much restrained Elijah McClain was so agitated, he needed a sedative known as ketamine. You know that. But what you might not know is that Elijah spent the next 4.5 minutes throwing up and moving just a little, not exactly showing any sign of the extreme or profound agitation that might typically warrant ketamine.
Y'all going to hit him in the right shoulder?
4.5 minutes after asking for it, officers gave Elijah McClain ketamine anyway. 3 days later, in a date now marked on Elijah's obituary, doctors declared him brain dead. Here's the problem, and it's a big one. In November, the coroner decided the cause of Elijah's death was undetermined. That same month, in this letter, the Adams County District Attorney announced no state criminal charges would be filed as a result. And there the story sat for months, occasionally generating a local headline until June. In the aftermath of the death of George Floyd in Minnesota, journalists and activists began looking into past in-custody deaths and found the name Elijah McClain. That month, in the midst of growing protests, Colorado legislators passed a police accountability law. But it would take, in part, a June 20th New York Times story for this story to lead to millions of signatures on a National Justice for Elijah website. Later that month, the governor appointed the state attorney general to review the criminal case, and the U.S. Department of Justice decided it needed to get involved as well. This month, McClain's family filed a civil rights lawsuit, and Aurora announced it will once again review how its police department handled the case. Elijah McClain's family wants more, and you can guarantee 1 year in, this story, their story, his story, is not over. But for now at least, it is no longer just a local story. For Next, this is Chris Vanderveen.
There's debate over how much, if at all, the ketamine contributed to Elijah McClain's death. The autopsy report said that the amount in his body was not enough to kill him, but it couldn't rule out ketamine as a contributing factor in his death. The state health department announced just over the weekend that it's going to review the use of ketamine in the field.